and gentlemen, welcome back to No Filter Gen Z. We are young Americans who are fighting to defend the truth. We got a new face here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mariah. My goodness, I am so excited to be here. This is my first time doing anything like a podcast, so just bear with me. But no, I'm super excited, super grateful. I met Camden at the Charlie Kirk event, actually, that we just went to, which was super cool. But I'm really excited to be on here and just use my voice as someone who is kind of growing up and just seeing all these changes in society, and I really want to be able to advocate for the truth. Yeah,
well, good episode to start on. We're going to be talking about Andrew Tate today. I got two women, women on each side of me for this one. So, Lydia, they know you. Welcome back to the show.
Yes.
And I'm Camden. So, today, Andrew Tate, controversial guy, right?
Yeah.
Very popular, and he just surged back in popularity because of this whole thing. So we'll just go through it. But Mariah, why don't you start? What do you think? What's your opinion? What's your first take on Andrew Tate?
Oh boy. I think he's got a mouth for sure. I think he has a lot of things to say. Some of it I honestly do think he does do just for clicks, but there's some stuff that's been really sketchy. I was looking through his past. His controversy began in 2016. There's a video of him hitting a woman with a belt, and he claimed that it was consensual. So just a really weird way to start out your popularity and fame there. So that's just kind of the first interesting thing that was seen. And then after that, he claimed on Twitter, I think in 2022, that women should take some responsibility.
I'm gonna get nervous for this one.
For some sort of, it's just the research. He said that women should take some responsibility in the realm of sexual assault. So that's just a very interesting take.
Okay, let's stop right there and talk about it.
Yeah.
Why is it interesting to you?
So this was on the topic of sexual assault specifically,
right.
Not for anything else, which I think is there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to say. But are you asking just what I think about that take in general?
Yeah, because I have a take on that specific thing.
That he said.
Yeah,
okay.
Because this is what happens with Andrew Tate. He gets clipped and taken out of context a lot, which he does say a lot of crazy things to get people to watch.
Okay.
But if you watch just that clip, you're going to be like, this guy's crazy. If you watch a full entire podcast with him, he makes a little bit of sense sometimes. But with this very, before we move on, what do you think about that
Well,
take?
I was going to say, let's talk about the full context first.
Okay.
Because is there more to the story that we haven't seen? Because this is just a clip from Twitter.
So what did you see?
So I've seen just the clips.
Just
the quotes.
With that one, though, it was just that. He said they should take some...
Basically,
Okay, yes. So my opinion on this is he actually... And I saw the episode where he's talking about this. And he says that when he said they should take some responsibility, he's saying if you're going out with, a crazy outfit, looking pretty crazy, into a really dark alley somewhere, or going to the club by yourself as a girl, if you're doing these things, you're putting yourself in a position for someone to do something bad. There's evil people, so we know that there's never going to be a world where everyone's perfect, right? There's evil people.
Yeah.
And so if you're putting yourself in a position to do this, then you need to take some responsibility in not doing that.
And I've seen that. Sorry if you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say, in the world that we live in, because we look at how women should behave based on biblical truths, and then you look at how, the secular world views women. And so it's their whole thing is, the man, he shouldn't be looking anyways. I can wear whatever the heck I want. I can do whatever I want, and I shouldn't reap any consequences. Not saying, obviously, sexual assault or anything like that is never okay.
Yeah, not acceptable.
Yeah, that's not acceptable.
But why, as women, are we degrading ourselves that way? And we're, we're dressing immodestly. We're doing those types of things. And then that creates that door to be a little more open, which, things like that, assault can happen even when you're dressing modestly. So that can happen regardless. Yes. But still, why would we want to open the door for that to happen, the propensity of that to happen even more by dressing the way that we do, kind of thing?
Right.
Yeah. I was gonna say I did know that part, and I've seen the things that he said about that, which I think that there should be responsibility for how we do conduct ourselves. For example, I'm not going to go out to a very dangerous spot doing dangerous things, doing something stupid, because that just it's just not a good idea. I do think that we have to be careful, which it is hard. It's hard to just genuinely just go out anymore and
and that's sad.
Which is hard. I don't think that, and we have said this, sexual assault's never okay. There's never an excuse for it. Putting your hands on a woman No.
Right, and I'm not arguing for that side of it anyway.
Absolutely, and I think that's something that has to be in context.
Yeah, we got to say that too.
We have to make that very clear. I do think that there are things, especially when looking, like, oh, well, why are they looking? Okay, well, if your butt cheeks are out, I'm just going to put it out flat.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to notice that. Now, putting their hands on you is definitely another part of the story. There's a couple of like layers to this entire thing, but I would say in general, yes, we do have to kind of watch ourselves as well in that realm.
So you kind of agree with it.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
I do.
I don't think it should be responsibility for actually being raped or assaulted. Like, I don't think there should be some sort of that's just not an
putting
excuse.
yourself in a position where that could happen.
If you put yourself in a bad position, then that's that idea.
So we agree with that.
I can see what you're.
This is no filter, so we're not gonna hold anything back here. Lydia, what do you think about Andrew Tate?
I mean, I've definitely seen like a lot of his really viral clips in the past, and regardless if what he's saying at some points in time are true or not, the way he conducts himself as a person, I really don't like at all.
I agree.
I think he's very egotistical. I think he's very narcissistic. I think he's a womanizer a little bit, actually a lot.
Yeah. But I'm gonna be so real. I agree.
Yeah. So I see those sides, and then I've seen clips and interviews where like he's sharing his takes on things, and honestly, like some of them are truthful and I don't disagree, but then I'm like, but his actions and the way he is as a person do not align with sometimes what he says.
Okay.
So I think that's where I have an issue with him. I don't know. I've kind of always been on the fence with him, but I feel like the more and more that's come out, the more I'm not on the fence and more on the side of, I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, okay, when you say what's come out, are you talking about like these charges, these accusations against him?
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to get into that because what I'm going to say is he's from Romania, which is a very strict court. Like a lot of the time it's pretty biased.
Yeah.
That's just a fact, not just Andrew Tate, but other people. He has no convictions, not one indictment, nothing.
I did see that.
So, and that the woman from the first thing you were talking about, she came out and said that it was consensual.
Yes.
So that's not a good look as a person
Which is
to have
just
that
weird
out
in
there.
general.
Right,
yeah,
right.
like we can definitely agree.
But
on
from
that.
like we'll talk about the law and stuff. But from an actual legal aspect, I mean, he hasn't been actually charged with anything yet.
Yeah.
So
no, for sure. I don't disagree with that because I did see that and I'm like.
Yeah, there's been accusations so far. There's for a couple things. There's human trafficking and being accused of formed an organized criminal group. That's him and his brother, by the way. So we have Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, and then they filed a defamation lawsuit against Jane Doe in Palm Beach County, and saying that she and another female presented fabricated evidence to the Romanian authorities. And then, as of recently, so last month, she filed a countersuit stating they attempted to lure her into a sex trafficking ring.
Okay.
Which is a lot. This is a lot to unpack.
It is. And,
And there's no saying what's true and what's
allegedly,
not at the moment.
So what I'm going to say is with Trump, we agree Trump is a good president, right?
Yeah.
There's been accusations against him. People call him a rapist, all these names aren't proven. There's no evidence. So what's the difference between that and this? Like, why do we look at him and say, oh, I don't believe that's true because there's no evidence. But then why are we looking at Andrew Tate differently?
That's a really good point, honestly. I see where you're coming from because, again, like I've been kind of on the fence with Andrew Tate, and I don't know. It's just really hard for me. And the thing is, I feel like he's kind of more actively in that. I feel like with Trump, he's in a different stage. First of all, I mean, he's president. He's happily married. Like he's in a position where I feel like these things aren't as prevalent as to what the accusations were for him in the past. Like I know, like in his early years, like I know this was more prevalent for him. Like he was dealing with this kind of thing.
But there are clips of Trump from the past that people go crazy. Like that quote, grab, like that quote he says, grab him.
What?
You never saw that. You know what I'm talking about.
I think I might. Maybe.
He was talking about celebrities, and I'm not going to say the sentence because it's explicit.
Don't say it. Yeah, don't say
wow.
But yeah, he was saying that when you're famous, there's this like weird thing where people will let you do things to them.
Oh,
because you're famous, right? So there's clips of Trump saying bad things from the past.
Yeah.
Clips of Andrew Tate from the past. So I'm just trying to make a little bit of an argument.
You want
I totally get that.
I want the same playing field for everyone. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. I can get on board with that. Yeah. I understand. I understand what you're saying with the
I think this is a good example of where we need, as Americans, to be able to talk about things and come to common ground on certain things without completely flipping out. Because there's some things Andrew Tate does and says I don't agree with.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But we can talk about different aspects that we can agree on.
Yeah, and he's been incredibly open and online too.
Right.
And like I think he's just said, overall, like he's had more of a strong opinion, so to speak. It's not like something that kind of slips out. He's sitting on the camera, like staring.
Right.
The way he stares into the camera, it's like, okay, all right. But I think maybe that's kind of where that's coming from, just from what I can gather. Yeah. At the moment.
So his audience is young men, right? 22 to 31 or whatever, which is I happen to fall into like that category.
Yeah. For sure.
So of course I'm going to see certain things differently.
Yeah.
What he has done, and since like 2020, he's brought a revival of masculinity. So it's not at all aligned with like what he does. Like as a Christian, it's completely different because it's like we don't have worldly values. But he has brought back like a strong man kind of look to the world because we're in a world where men are like pretending to be women and stuff. And so I think he was a figure where men could actually look up to in that aspect, not in everything. Yeah. But when there was no one else being masculine, there was finally someone who would say things that everyone was afraid to say.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's where everyone got on board with him.
Possibly, yeah.
And then he started saying some crazy things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Clipping, all the clips of him. Everyone's seen the clips. One thing, though, let's talk about it. We have two women here. What do you think about his take on women can't drive? Or, like, if you were in a plane and there was a hurricane and someone had to take over?
Yeah.
A man or a woman?
Oh, man, I'm sorry. I said it. I'm very traditional that way, so like I don't have a problem with him saying that about as far as like women. Like if there was an emergency to fly a plane, honestly, there are rare instances, and obviously there are female pilots that are extremely qualified. I'm not saying that there aren't. I'm just saying.
Right. We're saying like, if you take a random person,
if you take a random person,
man or woman,
man.
Okay, man. Why? Because a lot of women are gonna watch this and be like, "What?"
Exactly, and I know that might come off very much misogynistic. But the thing is, though, I literally like I don't know. It's just with men in general and just how we're designed, how you are designed biologically. Right. It's you know, you're more of the protector. You have more of as far as leadership roles in the house and outside of the house, like provider. And I'm not saying women can't obviously provide, but I would say that in this instance, I feel like that kind of couples with that, and I feel like that trickles down in situations like that where there'd be an emergency. Obviously, I'm not saying if a woman tried to fly a plane and it would crash, if she did, I'm not saying that would always happen, but I'm saying as far as...
I'm just kidding.
I'm saying as far as...
You're going to get yourself...
Protection-wise, I'm saying as far as like the feeling of security and that. Now, if it was a man that, you know, I wasn't really sure where they were, I was like, I don't know. Yeah. But like in general, though, I would feel that way.
How about you?
Yeah. I would have to say I agree, and I just wanted to touch on the fact like the way that we're wired is so different.
Yes, it is.
And if we're just talking generally, even I mean, I think that men are more natural at leading and taking charge of things, whereas women, we tend to be more nurturing and caring, and I think that is a beautiful thing. That's how God designed it.
Doesn't mean one is better.
I always say this thing that people get mad at: men and women are not equal. They're just not.
But
men are better at different things. Women are better at different things. They
There
complete each other.
Two different categories. There's no way for it to be the same. Like if we were all the same in that way, then life would look totally different.
Right.
Things would be different. And people don't necessarily want to see it that way at the moment. 'Cause it's like, oh, well, you know, I don't understand why we can't fill those roles. Okay, that's not what that means. I just think that we have to understand that we have God-given roles.
We're still both just as valuable.
Yes, exactly, and it doesn't mean we can't branch out and do things. Like I think women in STEM fields, stuff like that, that's super cool too. Like that is super cool to see people step out and do things that they want to do. It's not that they can't do that, but in general, the way that we're wired, the way that we take charge in our daily life, the way that we do things, like they are different.
Yeah, and I hate this thing that's happened over the past few years is the term mother has become such a negative thing, which I think it's the most important job in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the culture today is just saying that that's not valuable, that's worthless, and I'm like, why are we saying that? That's the most important job ever.
Yeah, and there was actually a controversy with one of the players of the Kansas City Chiefs, Harrison Butker. You guys see that? Yeah. He was saying that it is the highest calling for a woman to be a mother, which I took as a compliment. Some people did not because they thought it was degrading. And I
hate that.
Why are we degrading that? Mothers are raising the next generation.
Yeah.
Like that is huge. That is a huge role, and it is a beautiful calling, and I don't know why we turned it to be such a negative thing.
And you brought up that women are naturally more nurturing and stuff.
Exactly.
Why? Because they can have a baby, they can carry a baby in them.
Yes.
And then they have this connection with the baby that no one else can replicate.
Yes, dude.
Men cannot replicate it. I'm sorry.
No,
but
they
they
can't.
No.
And women cannot exactly replicate the same amount of leadership
can't.
in that way.
No.
That's not a bad thing.
No.
And like, dude, we can give birth. Like, that is so crazy. That is so cool. And
It's
people are
amazing.
turning that into something that's like, oh, well, this, and I've seen videos that are romanticizing not having kids. It's like this and not reproducing.
Yeah.
Okay,
crazy.
like that is just, I don't know. I just don't like that. It doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And neither does this whole thing about that men or that women can replace the man. Like, if you have a relationship, to make a life, you need a man and a woman.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
literally, anatomically, biologically,
Yep.
you need a man and a woman for a reason.
Yes.
You just can't replace those things because that's
No.
how we were made.
It's not meant to be that way. No.
And I mean, we were taken out of the rib, of Adam.
True.
Yeah.
So I mean, we are part of the man, but we're our own separate
Yeah.
person.
Yes.
But we complete each other. Like
We
you said.
we literally complete each other.
literally complete
quite
each other.
literally.
It can't be more God-given and biological coupled with that than it
Yeah.
gets, honestly. Like,
Well, since we're on this topic, I want to ask you guys a question about kids and, like, if there's a gay couple, should they be able to adopt kids? Like, what are your guys' opinions about this? Like, because they will lack some kind of thing if they don't have if they don't have both genders. But what's your take on, like, marriage and kids with that?
Well, obviously, I know I don't believe that's biblical for multiple reasons. But I also think that it's not the way, it's not the way God designed it to be. And when we try to make something artificially, it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out the way that it should. And I think kids are going to grow up and see something that's mirrored to them.
Yeah.
And think that it's perfectly okay and think that it's a perfect design because, of course, their parents are going to raise them to think that.
Yeah.
And furthermore, I do believe children will have this ideology that it's okay for them to kind of go do whatever they want, date whoever they want, and it's going to be completely natural and it's going to be okay. And I think they're just going to get exposed to a lot that should not be.
Yeah, and when you don't have the leadership in your house, because I'm thinking even of if you are, say you have two moms and you're a boy, if you don't have a leadership of a man, how are you going to become a man?
Exactly.
It's just kind of a thing. But the counter argument is it's a way better option than abortion. Like, say a mom was thinking about, like, what are we going to, like, if she knows she can't raise a kid and they have to give it to the adoption system, then I'd rather have that child live and go to a family.
Of course.
Yeah,
it's not the ideal situation. It's not what I agree with, but I think
Yeah, I
to
see
the
what you're
alternative.
I just don't even know if those two situations could even be compared as equal because, like, murder, obviously, I mean, that should never be compared in any sense. But I understand what you're saying because, like, that is the argument people do make.
Yeah, they do say that.
Yeah, but I think, like, the lack, and I also think of, like, maybe single parents that are trying to adopt. And, like, I also think about that, and I'm like, I don't want to take that away from them because, I mean, what if they had, like, child loss? Like, what if they wanted to, have a child that way, or they already had kids and they wanted to have more and they felt a calling, like the Lord was calling them to do that. And so I think that's a different story, but I feel like when there's, like, especially with two women, I was thinking, like, just a lack of a father figure, like, there is no one to truly just raise them up in the way that God designed.
Yeah, and if you look at, let's just talk about the black community. There's a big lack of fathers. It's true, it's a fact, it's a statistic.
Yeah.
There's a lot less fathers in black homes, and then that leads, in my opinion, to more crimes and more things, because 13% of the population commit 50% of the violent crimes. Yeah. People think you're racist for saying that. Well, it's a statistic. But I'm saying, why is that? Because there's a lack of fathers. If we have fathers and mothers in the home, the kids are raised upright.
Like, when we do talk about facts like that, we're not talking about it in terms of race. Actually, at all, we're really just talking about there's a lack of parents, too. There's a lack of fathers. And that's not going to ultimately result in anything good.
Yeah, and God can take what the enemy meant for evil and turn it for good, right?
Absolutely.
Like, any situation. We're not saying that you can't, but just in an ideal situation, I think we have to talk about what we would want.
Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
So
difficult.
conservatives are split on Andrew Tate. Back to him again.
Yeah.
Some conservatives absolutely hate him. Think
Yeah.
he's ridiculous and bad for the, conservative movement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some people that, like his beliefs. Like we saw Dana White meet with him at a UFC event. So
Candace Owens.
yeah, Candace Owens. So
Yeah.
there are people that talk to him and
Yeah.
respect some of his beliefs. So
For sure.
do you guys think that he's bad, good for the conservative movement? What do you think?
I mean, I'm almost indifferent because as far as like the conservative movement in general, coupled with Andrew Tate, I mean, if he's doing his own thing and like he's kind of in the conservative movement, like I don't really have a problem. But if like he tries to weasel his way more into the forefront and like there's like a huge push on him, I'm like I don't know if I can fully get behind that.
I think that's what will lose
Yeah.
the whole women vote.
Exactly.
And then conservatives
So-
are going to have a hard time
Yeah.
without any
Yeah,
women.
so I because I don't disagree. Like there are some things he does say that I'm like, okay, like there's truth to that, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think just him as a person, I think bringing that
Yeah.
up to the complete like forefront, I think that could cause problems for a lot of the demographic
Yes.
of the conservative
Yeah.
movement. For sure.
I agree. I think that also he needs to kind of tone it down a little bit because even like we were talking about with what he said with that tweet in 2022, like the sexual assault, I think he says things so strong and it does not come off the right way. Like I don't
Right.
think he should have worded it like take responsibility.
Mm.
I just don't think he should have said some of the things like the way he does. I don't know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay.
But like I just think that he has come out a lot very strongly, and I'm not sure how it would look if he made his way into.
Let's talk. Okay. He's an American citizen.
Right.
Like he was born in
Yeah.
America. So
Yeah, right.
he technically could run for office. A lot of people would not like to see that, but I'm just saying it's possible.
Yeah.
What I would like to see is an Andrew Tate that is changed by Jesus. Like
Of course.
he
Amen.
is so
Oh my goodness,
he is
yeah.
so captivating when he talks. Like I listen. I actually he makes me want to listen to him. If he changed his messaging a little bit and got Christ in the messaging
Absolutely.
and was changed by him, he could be like one of the world's greatest communicators.
yeah.
So
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
No.
he could, and that's what we pray for all of our leaders always.
yeah,
You know.
we just saw Trump getting prayed for by
Yeah,
like,
that's
a bunch of
there we
people in the
go.
White House. That's a
Yeah.
great thing. I don't care who
It
the
is a
leader
great
is.
thing.
Having
Oh my goodness.
people pray for the president.
Yeah.
For the leadership?
And anyone can be changed by the Lord. Like
Yeah.
this is not to say, I mean, Andrew Tate, you never know. And the thing is with Trump, like
Yeah.
the fact I love to see that, and I'm like, that should be the standard for any leader that we have.
Yes.
Of course,
In the
this
United
isn't even
States.
about who you're
This
voting
is
for.
not-
This is a
No.
Christian movement.
Especially in a world where there's so many influences.
Yeah.
If we just have if Jesus can enter those people that are influencing, it changes everything. Look at the Bible.
Yes.
Like there's so many
Yeah.
leaders that were not great people.
Paul.
Yeah, Paul killed
Those
Christians.
Christians.
And I mean Moses murdered someone. There's a
Yeah.
bunch
David. King David. You look
Yeah.
at, I mean, he
of Solomon
was
had like 100 wives or something.
Yes, and you look at also David, like he was literally called man after God's own heart, and you see the journey that he went through, like the ups and downs as far as like the horrible things that he did, but then the way he like desired so strongly to come back to Christ. It was not Christ, it was the Lord at the time, but I mean just to see that like ebb and flow, and that it can be possible in modern day. Like
Yeah.
we're seeing this with our own leaders. So why do we have that double standard on biblical figures and then not on
Yeah,
people
and
now?
I think
So,
things happen in people's lives
for sure.
for a reason to get a glimpse of God. Like he
Yeah.
reveals himself in areas.
yeah.
Yes.
One thing I thought of is when Trump got shot and his head just tilted
Yeah.
a tiny bit.
That
Ever
was so
since then, every speech he's given, he said, "I was saved by God for a
Yeah.
reason." And so that's what I like to
There's
see.
a
is
reason that
There's acknowledgement.
Yeah.
There's a reason, and God does intervene sometimes. And so it'd be cool if he did that with Andrew Tate.
I agree.
and
Yeah.
Always.
Change
I
up the
always do.
messaging a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
do, yeah.
Amen to that. That's
I
good.
agree.
Yeah.
good.
So, bottom line, we agree on some things. All right.
Yeah.
We disagree. We disagree a little
It's
bit.
okay to
That's
disagree.
It's okay.
That's
This
it's
is
called no
healthy.
filter.
So yeah, no filter.
No filter.
And what you'll see is Democrats can't do this. Like a lot of them, the left just can't disagree and still like be friends and
Yeah,
talk.
I have seen people post on social media after the election, during the election, if you voted for Trump, get off my
Like
feet.
we don't
Like,
do that to them
Yeah.
though.
I would not do that, and I'm just.
I know
it does-
people who voted for the other way, and I don't act like that. We
No.
gotta be better than
We
that.
gotta do better.
We gotta be not only we're Christians first, and then we're conservatives.
Of
so
course.
it's like we have to act like Christ.
Yeah.
In that way. You
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
Love people.
I think if you see everyone as made in the image of God, like they are, it's a lot harder to do that. To be like,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't want to talk to you ever again
It's so
because
hard.
it makes it completely different.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming to this one. That was the Andrew Tate debate a little bit here. Let us know if you have questions or comments below, and we'll get to you in a future episode. See you guys next time.
All right.
Peace.